I don't know either. My mind is blank because we accidentally live streamed 30 seconds of ourselves to YouTube. And I did have a slight panic attack that we ruined everything.
Just blown everything, yeah.
You see someone in Discord says they accidentally started live streaming on YouTube.
It's very funny to me that we have two people who notice this when no one ever shows up when we're actually live streaming.
We get like 5 people for book club, but we accidentally stream for 30 seconds and like 45 people are like, huh? What? Hey? Where? What are you doing? Hello and welcome to Flanagan's Wake, a Doof Media podcast stalking Mike Flanagan through a deep jungle. My name is Scott Daly, and joining me, as always, a few years ago, he was just a quiet voice in the back of my mind, but he's been increasingly showing up every time I look into water. It's Matt Freeman? Come on! One of the most beautifully tragic things ever told in the history of storytelling. And we just made a really stupid joke about it.
Yeah, we gotta make it silly. This is how we deal with our emotions. I think folks have figured that out by now, though.
Oh yeah. I cannot process anything without being silly about it because then I'd have to be vulnerable. Yeah. This week on the show, we have reached the end of Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House as we discuss episode 9, the finale, The Beast in the Jungle. This is it, Matt. This is the end. You know everything now. There's no more secrets. I don't have to worry about accidentally revealing stuff early or you figuring stuff out. It's over. It's all over now. And what an end. What an end it is.
Yeah. Everything's wrapped up quite satisfyingly.
Yeah. And very sadly.
Yes, tragically, I suppose, yes, but also satisfyingly.
It's like some sort of gothic romance or something.
I know.
Before we get into the episode, though, we did just want to let y'all know, it's December. This episode is coming out on the 18th of December. Gosh, wow. That's... It's coming up fast. So we just wanted to let you know what our schedule is going to look like for the rest of the year. So obviously we have this episode that is being released on the 18th. We are going to release our overview episode next week where we're going to be talking about Bly Manor as a whole and looking back on it and trying to find any more themes or anything that we missed when we were diving deep into the episodes. That episode is scheduled to come out on Christmas. We will probably release that a day early just because, who's gonna wake up Christmas morning and instead of ripping open their brand new presents or watching their children do so, just pop in your headphones and listen to two middle-aged guys talk about Bly Manor. Yeah, that sounds great.
It's the miracle of Christmas.
Exactly. That episode will come out the week of Christmas, probably the 24th, probably not on the 25th. And then we are going to take a week off for the holiday. We will not have an episode on New Year's Day, so there will be no episode that week. And then we will start up with our next series, which will be covering Midnight Mass on the 8th of January. So that's what the schedule looks like. Midnight Mass, we are... I thought long and hard about, do we want to read some of the Bible before we dive into that? And I just decided, you know what? I'm good. I'm good on that. I don't want to do that. So no reading prerequisites for Midnight Mass. We are just going to jump right into the show and all 7 episodes. Although, being raised Catholic, I feel like we've at least done our homework as far as the show. So
right. I feel like going through the entire process of confirmation is a prerequisite for understanding Midnight Mass. Yeah,
so all of you, if you haven't done that yet, join the Catholic Church as quickly as possible, get confirmed.
Which, and then, it takes a while, so start now.
It's a lot of work. There's a lot of memorization. How are your knees? Because you do have to kneel quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then we'll see you on the 8th of January for the first episode of Midnight Mass. We are going to be doing so we're rapidly approaching a year of starting this podcast, right? So we on I think our overview episode for Bly Manor will be like a final episode on Bly Manor, kind of maybe a final episode on the Haunting of series of shows in general, and then maybe just like a look back on on the first year of Flanagan's Wake as well. We've covered quite a bit. We've moved through many years and many series, so I think it'll be fun to like take a look back before we dive into our second and as of right now, final year of the show, because we're tearing through Mike's work pretty fast here.
Awesome. Sounds good.
He needs to make more things faster so we can, because everyone knows that recording a podcast about a show takes roughly as long as it does to make the show, I think.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, that was actually accurate when it came to covering Stephen King books. He basically was writing as fast as we were covering books.
That's true.
It's like literally true. But TV shows are different, I guess.
I'm pretty sure some of our podcasts on some of those books were longer than the audiobook. So like we could have just read the entire book out loud and it would have been shorter than our conversations on it, which it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, let's dive into our final episode, The Beast in the Jungle. This 9th episode of Bly Manor was released the same day all of them were, on October 9th, 2020. It was written by Julia Bicknell. It was directed by E.L. Katz, who, I don't know, did you ever watch I think it was sci-fi horror series Channel Zero, which was like loosely based on, I think, Copypasta's Scary Stories. Like there was what is like the No End House or something? There was one. You don't like horror stuff. Why am I talking to you about this?
No idea what you're talking about.
Anyway, he directed several episodes in that series, and he's here to direct the final episode of this one.
Cool.
It was edited by Ken Blackwell and Mike Flanagan, and the directors of photography, actually, because both Maxime Alexandre and James Neist joined forces in the final episode. These are our two DPs across the season of show, and here they are in the last episode teaming up to shoot this thing. And I think that's fair, because one thing, maybe to start the conversation off, this was probably a pretty expensive episode of the show to make, because we abandoned all our pre-made sets pretty quickly in the episode. Like 13 minutes in, we leave Bly Manor behind, and we're in just like all new sets for the entire rest of the show until the very end. So I just feel like this is like an expensive finale, because it's like, I'm sure what they did was like convert some of the old sets, or like maybe some small stuff that happened mid-season that was out of Bly. They just like converted that stuff and did a very good job masking it. But like, I just couldn't stop thinking about, like, we need Owen's restaurant, we need that coffee shop they're in, we need their apartment that they move into. Like, there's just so many different places that we spend a very brief amount of time in, but that has to be fully built and constructed and everything. And man, must have cost some money, I think.
Yeah, probably so.
And then you have to light that stuff and do all that stuff too, newly. And so maybe that's why we have two DPs here, because that's a lot of work that you have to do.
That's interesting. That makes sense. I don't know if this is the most artful segue ever, but I think it is really interesting how this is the finale of the entire show, and really we're kind of done with the narrative in like 20-25 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, so there's an obvious sense in which that's not correct, but what I mean by that is we wrap up all of the plot threads that we have been concerned with, with the kids, the other people at the house, all of this stuff, the ghost plot line, if you will, is wrapped up, I think, before the halfway point of the episode.
It's like 13 minutes in. I actually looked at it. Yeah.
13. Yeah. Is even earlier than I said then, but yeah, it's quite quick. And then, like you just said, we then leave Bly, and most of the episode is the long and sad, but I think bittersweet story of Jamie and Danny's relationship together, and culminating then in bringing us back to the framing story, and then wrapping up with the framing story. So, which I think I knew we were going to come back to the framing story. We could just quickly give me my accolades, by the way. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way.
Everyone clap and cheer. He needs it. This is very important to Matt. This is what he lives off of. Yes, you were correct on almost everything.
Well, I don't know if I live off of it because I do such a bad job usually, but I was right about Jamie. I was right about Henry being a Dick Halloran / Willie showing up and then immediately and anticlimactically getting killed. He was killed. I was right.
He was
then
technically killed
he's brought
briefly.
back.
Yeah,
He was killed for about 5 minutes, and then he comes back. So that was cool.
You were right about Danny dying, although not quite how you predicted. I think the only thing you specifically got wrong was Miles dying. You were not correct about that. Miles does not die.
Yeah. I think so. That was an interesting one to me because I was kind of expecting there to be one more climactic moment of plot resolution between Miles and Quint, kind of centrally resolving this thing that was going on with the two of them. And that's just not what the story did. The story, basically, as far as the story was concerned, that was resolved, I think, the moment that Miles gave himself to Peter Quint. And now what we actually get is that he gets rescued from that choice. Yeah. And Quint apologizes, pretty pathetically, and then and then dies for real finally. So
yeah, this is such a weird place to start in this episode, but I'm for it. I actually really loved that sequence. I love that we put it in for multiple reasons, right? I love that we tried it. Peter Quint is a scumbag piece of shit. Like, we've made this very clear that we feel this way, but also like he does still get a moment at the very end. Too late to do anything and too late to earn anything. This is not like a redemption apology, but he does at least, before he fades away into nothingness, like acknowledge that what he did to Miles was shitty briefly. And I love Miles' response to him. This is a young boy who maybe is just barely starting to understand the full scope of what was happening to him. He just looks at him. He just gives him a look that's like, fuck you. Unforgiven. I do not forgive you. Yeah. I really like that. There's no dialogue. Like, Miles gives no dialogue there. It's just all in a look, and I dug it. I really did.
Yeah, that was great.
And I like that we didn't have like a Jessel Peter Quint moment either, right? Like, there isn't, like, before they both fade away, like, he doesn't say I'm sorry to Rebecca. He doesn't get to see Rebecca, right? Like she's free of him now. And so, like, I love that we didn't even do that. We didn't have a moment of, like, none of that. It's like she's free now. And there is the final Peter Quint and Rebecca Jessel moment in the show is as the lady in the lake walks by, he chastises her because he says, "I gave you your freedom and you're letting it drown." Which, hey, Pete, fuck you.
Yeah.
You took her freedom. What do you mean I gave you? You took it. The reason she needed to be given it is because you took it when you drowned her.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
I'd like to think that was the last straw. No, I'm pretty sure the last straw came before that point, honestly. But
but
he's also hiding behind the hedge like a coward.
Yeah.
It's just it's great.
Everyone in the house like tries to do something to help in the end, and yes, many of them are ineffective, right? And I do want to talk to you at some point in this episode about those moments of both. I think Hannah and Henry make very important character choices for them that help like finish their arc in the show, but are ultimately pretty ineffective at actually stopping the final antagonist, right? And I want to talk about that a little bit. But Peter is the only one who does nothing, who just hides behind a hedge. The camera like starts on him, and this beautiful shot where it starts on him hiding behind the hedge and like slowly pulls back to see the full scope of it. And it's just like, man, dude, you suck. You suck. Not that Miles could have done anything, but like neither could Henry, neither could Hannah, and they tried to do something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Hannah for 1 second because, her whole character flaw and situation was epitomized by the word denial, I think. I still love that moment when her figment of Owen yells that at her. And like that's what she's always, that's been the flaw that has kept her back and kept her static. But that's her big choice at the end is to not allow that to define her. And I think that's cool because even though it's, like you said, it's ineffective, like she's not able to successfully stop the ghost, it's still an important choice for her character to have made that choice and to go out of this world having chosen to, put herself at risk, to leave the comfort of the memory that she's hiding in, and to try to do something. I wonder if, like, I would have to, it's funny, I don't have the sequence of events quite nailed down in my head, but, does she at least call someone's attention to what's happening, or have some practical role?
So if we want to get super, I mean, first of all, I completely agree with you that what matters in the end for both Henry and for Hannah is that they've made the choice, that they look at the options and they make the choice. Henry finally gets off his ass, gets out of his stupid building in his drunken stupor, and drives out to Bly to assume the role that he should have been assuming from the moment his brother died. And Hannah finally beats through that denial, walks through the open dark door into kind of the scary unknown. So what actually happens after that doesn't matter as much as the choice itself happens. But to your point, yes, if you want to get super technical with this, and I don't think this matters, but let's get super technical, Hannah is there to tell Owen and Jamie that they are by the lake. Mm-hmm. And then that allows Owen to see Henry dying and resuscitate him. So that's why Henry doesn't die. Henry does delay the lady in the lake for like 6 seconds while she's murdering him. Mm-hmm. And the way everything plays out at the end, it's like literally the final second as the lady and Flora are about to dip under the water when Danny finally gets out there and says the words, right, and makes the bargain. So like we're talking about seconds here at that point. And so if we want to get technical, what Henry did in this situation was stall the lady for just enough seconds for Danny to be able to get out there. And then what Hannah did in this situation was allow them to know where the final action was happening. She pushed them there, which saved Henry because Owen is there. And also, I think it does matter to me that in the moments after Danny is possessed by Viola, that Jamie is like the first person she sees in there. Mm-hmm. Like I think that does matter, and maybe we'll talk about that as we go. But yeah, like it does. It just, I don't care. I don't care that like that Henry walked up and then immediately was choked and thrown to the ground. Like Henry had made his choice when he walked out of that office, right? And that's and the person that then gets to Bly and is thankfully revived and decides that I'm going to take responsibility for these kids, I'm going to finally step up, that's that same person. And so if he had like saved the day actually in like some specific larger way, it wouldn't ultimately matter for me, because what matters is the choice that the character ultimately made, and how it is an evolution of who the character was when we first met him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, because I think that statement could be generalized to how I feel about a lot of stuff in this show and how things resolved. And I was thinking about how this contrasts with Haunting of Hill House, where just narratively speaking, this is a much more kind of meditative and vibes-based narrative, which I think is fitting because it's a more traditional Gothic horror story.
Yes.
The finale of this show wasn't this like crashing culmination of these hurtling character journeys that were all converging at this one point where it's all down to this, and people are going to make these huge sacrifices. I mean, look, everything I just said is like slightly wrong, because indeed there was an intense climactic sequence and there were huge sacrifices made and so forth, but that's not like what the show is about. Like, it's about the quiet commitment to taking care of each other and to living with the consequences of your choices, even if the consequences are tragic. Mm-hmm. That it ties back with what I said a bit ago about the plot being over in like 18 minutes, where it's like, yeah, we wrapped all that up, and then we dwell in the aftermath of that for the remaining 40 minutes of the episode. And that's really what the show is concerned with.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think this is summed up perfectly in the way the episode starts. So like, I mean, thinking back about this, we have the Two Faces episode that ends on this cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is Danny is frantically trying to get Flora out of the house. She runs outside and the lady in the lake is there to grab her. And we hit that on a cliffhanger beat. And then we go to our episode 9 flashback, and we spend an hour in the show flashing back and catching up with the lady in the lake and Perdita and Viola. And and then we finally get to the finale episode, and we don't start the finale picking up that thread, right? First, and like sometimes, especially in a finale episode, I think maybe this is just a personal thing, but maybe other people agree, like the way it starts is always so interesting to me because it's like the beginning of the end. This is like how you're going to start the wrapping up of your story. And we start with Hannah back in that room with Owen, once again talking to him, once again, going through the motion of her mantra, but admitting at the end, the final bit, that I'm dead too. And then we go through this whole thing of like, I like being here with you. Like, first of all, we go through this whole thing of just like the tragedy of what could have been with these two people that both dearly loved each other, but will never get to actually fulfill that love. Will never get to fulfill these dreams that they had, for these unspoken dreams that they had for each other, this life that they were both imagining in their heads with each other. And just the abject tragedy of that, and how it's not fair, but it is what it is ultimately. And this idea of this memory that she's tucked herself away in, this happy memory, it's not real and it's not helpful. And there is still a thing that she can do that can help in some way, even a small one. And I love the line, "Be brave in death, Hannah." And I think just to start your finale with that line in this scene is a declarative statement of like, he says, "Be brave in death, Hannah. We both know you're not so selfish to remain hidden in a memory."
Yeah.
And wow, like that is declaring like everything and everything every character has been through and is going through, and this idea of death is coming for us all, right? We all owe a death. It's going to happen, but what matters is what you do when that time comes. And we see those choices. I mean, this episode, we get to see Dani and her beast in the jungle that we'll get to, and how she behaves and what she does, and also how Jamie reacts to that and what Jamie does with this death hanging over everything. And the be brave in death, because that's all we can do, right? And I love that. And I love the image of that bravery and that unknown being this kind of open door into darkness. Like she's in this cozy, wonderful kitchen that was just a place of safety and sanctuary, and what's out there is darkness and unknown and fear. But she does it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously, this all also applies to what goes on with Jamie and Dani. You said as much just now. And it actually was really announced in the first episode. I actually went back and I watched most of the beginning of the show because I was like, I know, because this was like 9 weeks ago now, so I forgot the details by now. But I was like, I know that like so much of this stuff that we're seeing in the finale, especially in the framing story, was set up and kind of primed for us in that first episode, and I remembered very vaguely that like the character who we later find out is Owen had given a speech, and the speech was about like basically the tragedy of lost love. I didn't remember the details of the speech, but I remembered it was something like that. By the way, this is 100% why I thought Dani was going to die. Is I was like, it began with this speech about the tragedy of lost love. He's making this intense eye contact with the character who we find out is Jamie. You put these things together, you're like, she's dead. She's definitely dead. Like it's super, super clear. But so I went back and listened to it, and just to remind everyone and remind myself, I'm going to quote a little bit of it. So first he's talking about how, half of marriages don't end in divorce, and that means you have to watch your partner die. And then he says, that's the preferred outcome. To truly love another person is to accept the work of loving them is worth the pain of losing them. And that's it. That's all. And that's like, that's the thesis statement of the show. You're the beast in the jungle, that it comes for all of us. Everyone who's alive, and then everyone who's in a relationship. And if that relationship makes it through the long haul, okay, now you get to watch your partner die, which is the saddest thing imaginable. And yet we're, it's better. That's what you're going to do, right? it's such a heavy thought, really, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the counterpoint to this is all the antagonists in the show, right? There's the lady in the lake who was so like stubbornly refusing to let go of anything and everything, of her love, of her stuff, of her life, just so stubbornly refusing that she created this black hole that sucked and trapped everyone else in around her. And then also Peter, like this man who, yeah, like was robbed of everything he wanted by this just cruel twist of fate. Like, don't Peter piece of shit, but like his death is just like random happenstance of he just happens to be in the way of the lady in the lake, right?
Yeah.
And so like, and he refuses to let any of that go. He refuses. He needs and he possesses, and that's not being brave in death. All the antagonists are not brave in death. They are insistent and refuse to budge, and refuse to do any of this with any kind of grace. And what that creates is destruction around them. It destroys everything around them. Whereas Danny's eventual death, is tragic. Yes, is incredibly sad. And thanks Mike and team for letting us watch this love story play out, despite the fact that all of us know she's going to die. Like, you know what you said in your prediction. Like, I never said this at the time because that would be like admitting you're right, but like, yeah, the whole show was predicated on the fact that it's the second you know that it's her that's at the center of the love story, she's fucking dead, man. And like we know this, and yet we're watching, and it's kind of the same. Like I actually love the show does this because we are both as aware of the eventuality of this as Danny is, but both we and Danny get suckered into the beautiful simplicity of this love story that we maybe even allow ourselves to forget briefly. And then the show reminds us right when it reminds Danny of the eventuality of it. And it makes all the more tragic. But when she realizes that it's happening, when she realizes that the day has finally come, she lets it happen. She lets go. She protects the people she loves in her death, and that creates in the new lady in the lake someone not filled with rage, someone that is eventually going to be the shell of a shell of a person. Not exactly a shell, because I think the text specifically says like she won't be empty in the way the lady in the lake was empty, but a memory, a trace of a person that is loving and kind and innocent and would never hurt anyone. And so like that's the whole difference. So we're all gonna die, but die with a little bit of dignity, I guess.
Tell me if I'm right about this, because I may have missed the detail, but I believe that Viola lingered in bed for 6 years before she died. And my recollection is that Danny and Jamie had 6 years together.
I think it's more than that. So that
okay,
I think it's above 10.
Really?
It never
Okay.
says it's quite a bit more than that. I thought about that too, and there is a moment where it's like in 5 years turned into 6, but then there is some more time jump after that.
Yeah, I remembered the 5 years turned into 6, and I was like, and then I cashed that prematurely, perhaps.
I have trouble, like, the one thing I have trouble parsing with this stuff is this idea that, like, I go back to the conversation Perdita had with her sister, where it's like, hey, do you want the memory of your kid to be this version of you? Is that really what you want? And I'm like, what is the other option? Like, suicide, right? Like, I mean, yes, it is true that Viola is, like, stubbornly hanging on, but, like, that's kind of the thing about tuberculosis, is sometimes it can kill you very quickly, and then sometimes you just suffer for a long amount of time before you die. Like, I'm not sure what the, like, good outcome of I have this disease that they thought was going to kill me in months, but I'm just kind of sticking around. You want me to just, like, go drown myself in the lake or something?
Yeah, I mean, so perhaps I'm bringing my own biases to this, but, like, to me, that wasn't, Perdita wasn't right there. Because, like, I think it would be surprising to me if the moral of the show was supposed to be, like, don't rage against the dying of the light. Just give up. Just give up immediately at the first sign of illness. It's like, no, obviously not. You're supposed to fight. I mean, the whole ending, the climax is people fighting to save this little girl from death, right? Not being like, oh well, the ghost got her. And it wouldn't be natural to fight the ghost. No, it's obviously you should cling to life to the degree that is it is on net good and bringing goodness to the world. And I think maybe that's this brings this caretaking thing back into things, I guess, actually. So
sure.
I think one of the things, actually, I think this just unlocked something a bit for me, or maybe it unlocked it further, was when Jessel says to Flora, no one should need that much help, right?
Yeah.
It's this key idea where it's like, of course it's good to help each other, and like we just said, of course it's good to try to have more life. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a point at which the having more life is clawing life parasitically and vampirically away from someone else. And in the same way that Jessel was going to steal Flora's life away, Viola was kind of stealing her sister's life away. And that's like an incredibly brutal and awful way of putting it, because it's like, but like, what else was she supposed to do? And I think that's just the tragedy of it. Is it's like, I don't know. It just sucks.
It just sucks.
It just sucks for everyone. This is the reality of so many. This is the same thing with Owen and his mom that we also talked about plenty, where it's like, the show is not saying Owen should have just smothered his mom with a pillow years ago. It's like, no, it's saying like, this is what happened. He loves her, but also this is a burden that has increasingly worn on him, and that's just the truth. It doesn't imply that he should have done anything different necessarily.
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think the healthy thing on all sides is once the day finally comes, which it inevitably will, that we, approach it with an appropriate amount of bravery, I think. I'm glad you said this, because one of the things I was thinking back about last week's conversation and our conversation on caretaking as a whole, and I was kind of worried. I was like, are we making it seem like it's bad to take care of people? Because that's not A, what I think the show is doing, and B, what I was trying to convey at all, right? That I don't think so. I just think like it is really dissecting like the complicated nature of that kind of relationship, and maybe where the line is, if there is a line. Like one thing that really stuck with me is Danny's choice is essentially the opposite of put on your mask first and then put on everyone else's, right? Like she chooses in the moment of choosing to take the Lady in the Lake in her. Even if she didn't fully understand the consequences of that, she is essentially choosing to save save Flora at the expense of herself. She is putting Flora's proverbial mask on first. And so like, I think sometimes that is the right move, right? Sometimes the move is you need to, like, in some situations, the move is you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself before you stretch yourself out to take care of someone else. But sometimes in life, you just got to save someone else, and that like and that's what Danny does in an instant. She barely thinks about it. It just like is the thing that in that moment she feels like she needs to do. I love what the line says: something she did not entirely understand, but something she felt in her bones she had to try. I love that line because it's like we're saying she doesn't even fully understand what she's doing, what the consequences of it are, but she just knows in that moment, because this is who she is, that she has to do it. And it is a culmination of who she is as a person.
I think for me, this was conceptually connected to another moment that I know you wanted to talk about, where Owen mentions that the kids have basically forgotten all the events of the show.
Yes.
And Danny has a really interesting reaction where it's like it's a very complicated and nuanced moment of acting.
Yes.
Which isn't really accompanied with her explaining her feelings, and so to some degree we're invited to think about maybe what she's feeling in response to that. And I think what you just said, like she essentially has sacrificed her life for this girl. Unclear whether she fully knew she was doing that, but I think maybe she did, or in that moment she would have sacrificed her life for that girl regardless,
I mean,
right?
I don't like. I think she knew. Like, I don't think she was like, oh, this person's going to take me over and then it's going to lurk in the back of my consciousness for 15 years and then suddenly come kill me. I think it was maybe even like, I'm going to be possessed. Like, in her mind, she knows what the possession is and she knows what the results of the possession are in every other instance she's seen, which is the possessee takes immediate control of the body, right? So, like, on some level, she knew she was giving up her life, I think. Yeah.
Right. And I think as the viewer, it's funny that I think the show leaves us in suspense for a few minutes as to whether that's what's happened, because she's kind of like zonked out for a bit. And then we realize like, no, she's still Danny. She's just like haunted now. But anyway, like I've detected in the performance something like a degree of bitterness. Like, I sacrificed my soul for you, and you don't even remember who I am or what happened or any of this. And she doesn't say it, but it's like,
you would never say that.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you so much. I was so like, I watched this sequence multiple times in a row because I was just so into what Victoria Pedretti was doing here. Because there's this complicated mix of like relief that the kids don't have to live with this thing holding over there, and then maybe a bit of jealousy as well, because like the way the scene ends is this idea of like, they deserve to live their lives without this thing hanging over their head the whole time. All of us do. And then it's this cut to like a shot of Danny and Jamie standing next to each other, both fully aware that is their life. Their life is they're just living with this thing hanging over their head the whole time. So yeah, maybe a bit of jealousy that the kids don't have that, and maybe a little bit of like, the most important thing I did in my entire life was make this choice, and they don't even remember that, and that's good. But also, I mean, it's so complicated and it's so human in that moment of she is this person that is suffering, and we like the people around her don't even fully know it yet, but she's starting to see the lady everywhere, and so she's starting to feel like it's coming, it's time, it's almost over. And so like it's such a complicated array of emotions that feel so innately human. Like, it would feel a little bit dishonest for me to her just be like unquestionably happy about the news that Flora and Miles are doing great and they're relatively, like, all things considered, like, well off and happy. And they don't have these things hanging over there, because that's like good news, right? I mean, one of the themes of the story is the cyclical nature of some stuff, and the idea that Miles was abused by Peter, who was abused by his father, and the idea that Miles has perhaps gotten out of that cycle is like it's a good thing. It's happy. We're happy for them. Yay! I'm glad you both forgot about Bly. And I'm glad you both forgot about the ghosts and the monsters and the trauma. But yeah, from Danny's perspective, I'm a little sad that you forgot about me, though.
Yeah, it's a humanizing moment. I mean, because we don't want her to be too perfect. Then she just kind of ceases to be a character. There was a thing I was thinking about that I didn't know what to make of. So I'm just going to kind of bring it to the table, which is, when we meet Danny, she's haunted by her fiance who died, and she looks into mirrors and she sees her fiance, and then she's able to get past that by choosing to move past it. Like she's able to, if a ghost story is a love story and a love story is a ghost story, then that was a particular kind of love story. She did love him in a way, and then she was able to, move past it, forgive herself for her role in his death, for the unhappiness that she brought him, etc., all these things that she feels bad about, and move on and find her own happiness with Jamie. And then he basically never shows up again after that. I was mildly surprised. He just never shows up again. And then she's haunted again by the lady in the lake, by Viola. And she's not able to get past that. And that was interesting. And I was just like, I'm trying to operate at the level of what are we saying metaphorically, and not like the tactical realism of like, should they have dug up the chest full of clothes and burned it? But like at the level of metaphor,
the chest is gone, Matt. It was 300 years ago.
I'm not going to let go of the chest.
It's gone.
I think they
gone.
should have still dredged up the chest and tried to burn the chest just to see. That's what I would have done, just to make sure. Anyway, what does it mean, right? What does it mean? I don't know.
I mean, I definitely picked up on the kind of like mirroring, for lack of a better phrase, between the way Dany starts and the way Dany ultimately ends. And I think that is really interesting. I think the difference for me is, in the one, she's haunted by the ghost of this person that she wanted to be free from but cannot be. I think the difference with the Lady in the Lake ultimately is that Dany chose this or gave this permission, right? She took this by choice into herself. And so you know, sometimes, like, I think one of the things that we try to get too into our head about like metaphor and meaning and these things pinging off each other, it's like sometimes sad shit happens to people. Like if we want to make the Lady in the Lake a metaphor for anything, in this instance, it's a metaphor for like a disease, right? Or I mean, like, let's go back. We talked about dementia and Alzheimer's last week. Let's go back to that again. Like this idea that one day you are going to lose yourself. One day, like when she's sitting there talking to Jaime and he's like, what if you're standing here and I'm standing right next to you, but it's not me, it's her, right? One day, if you have Alzheimer's, your brain, like the core of who you are is going to cease to exist in a lot of ways. And that it's a perfectly apt metaphor, but I mean, I really struggle with this as well. That's a long-winded way of saying I kind of agree with you on. I was just like, I wonder like what we're ultimately saying, and that's what I reached at, was the idea that it's different because she chose it this time, and also the idea that like one of the things the show is saying is like, it's not fair. Life isn't fair, and it doesn't matter like, yes, you handled this correctly or you didn't handle this correctly. Or sometimes like shows impart wisdom as far as like, this is what you should do when X happens or Y happens, and if you do that, you'll be better off, you'll be happy, you'll get over your trauma. Sometimes you just fucking die, right? Like that's Hannah. Like what did Hannah do wrong in her life, right? To get punished by this cruel, senseless death? Nothing. She just died, because sometimes people just die, and it's like there's nothing you can do about it. And that's like that's ultimately where I got to, and where I got to a place that I was okay with my complicated feelings about this whole thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, first of all, agree with you that this is the difference, is she invited this in, and this is kind of a sacrifice that she made to save Flora. And yeah, also just like, yeah, sometimes you do, you know, you have bad luck. It could have been that they had a happy relationship for 15 years and then she got hit by a bus, right?
But they got those years, right? That's like they got those years. And maybe if we want to talk about the Beast in the Jungle here now, they fully lived those years despite the thing hanging over their head the entire time. It's such a beautiful inversion of what Henry James was doing in that story, I think. I loved it. I loved it the first time I watched the show, and I love it even more knowing what the source material of this whole idea was, right?
Yeah. It's great, right? Because it's like the faithful adaptation of Beast in the Jungle would be like Dany and Jaime hang out for 15 years with Dany constantly being like, today could be the day I could die, and Jaime trying to flirt with her and being stonewalled because because she's completely self-absorbed, which is not what happens, right? Dany is the one who proposes to her, which I think is important because it's telling us like she's trying to reach out. She's not completely lost to this thing. She's trying to have it. She's trying to have as much of a normal life as she can for as long as she's going to be here. Yeah. Just to remind people, the Beast in the Jungle, the tragedy of that story was ultimately that this guy spent his entire life terrified of his death,
and therefore didn't fully live. He had this woman that was by his side and loved him his entire life, and he was not fully aware or cognizant of it until it was too late, until she was already gone. And the beast in the jungle that pounces on him is the realization that you've wasted your entire life. So yeah, this is a complete change of this, and a beautiful change, right? It's a change. Like, this is kind of what I love what Flanagan does with adaptation sometimes, is he looks at something and he says, like, I like the core of this thing, but like when I hear that, here's what I think. And so I want to do something else with it. And he found a way to kind of perfectly tie it into the story. Like, the first time I watched it, biggest smile on my face when it's so funny. It's an incredibly sad moment, right? It's the moment she's sitting on the bed with Jamie standing next to her, and she's saying, I feel her in my head. I feel her. She's really, really quiet, but she's there, and it's not good, this feeling I feel. It's rage, it's anger, it's hatred, it's all in there. And then she says the beast in the jungle metaphor, and I got this enormous smile on my face. Not because like I'm happy this stuff is happening, because I'm like, like this is what Flanagan is doing with the Beast in the Jungle story. Yeah. He's recreating it, except this time these characters are going to do the right thing. They're going to recognize the love in their life. They're going to recognize that we all have just one day at a time, no matter what, and they're going to live their lives fully despite this thing hanging over their head, and enjoy each other for the years that they have each other.
It's waiting. She's waiting. At some point, she's gonna take me. Do you want company? While you wait for your beast in the jungle, do you want company?
You could have that reaction because you knew that they were going to have those years together. But what's interesting is watching it for the first time with the knowledge of the beast in the jungle in my head, I was actually worried in that moment because I was like, okay, Are we telegraphing that she's going to be like, I can't be with you because I'm going to instead obsess about my own impending death for years. And it's like, no, we obviously we did the more, gentle path.
You mentioned luck, and I wanted to, I took us off on another path, but I wanted to talk about luck a little bit and tie that in with Henry Wingrave.
I was going to make the same. I'm glad we've known each other for so long. Go ahead.
No, so we talked about Henry essentially being a Dick Halloran character in the moment where he charges in, is immediately strangled to death and thrown to the floor. Luckily, Owen saves him and is able to bring him back to life, and so we get to see the changed man Henry, and we get two really important scenes with him in the early part. The first is him with the children in their parents' old room. And I love, like, to demonstrate exactly who Henry is and what he's going to do, he is tying a bow tie for Miles, which is, like, if you want to think of, like, quintessential, like, dad imparting wisdom to child thing, like, there's no better image than teaching a kid how to tie a tie, right? And then, talking about the stories that he can tell, the stories of both his brother and their mother, and just we communicate and make it very, very clear, like, he is going to put himself in this role and he's going to do this. It's just a great way of depicting that, I think. And then, his final moment with Danny, where he says, I think what he says is, I love this line, where would we wretched people be without the generosity of our betters? And luck. Right. And this is, we were talking about Hannah and the unluckiness of Hannah. And, like, sometimes in life, the people that deserve it don't get it. And the people that don't deserve it do get it. And that's the great struggle of life, that Henry Wingrave did nothing to deserve the grace that he has received, the gift that he has received. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that moment. I love it so much, particularly because of the performance where you see on his face this, like, joy and almost like shock and joy at the eucatastrophe, like you said, the grace of just like everything that you yourself don't think you deserve, and all of the consequences of your actions. Those we're just gonna wipe that away. You get to basically be the surrogate parent to these kids. In fact, you have to be now.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be with this girl who you love so much, who's your daughter, even though you're probably never going to tell her that.
Yeah.
And this boy, you're going to take care of him, and you've been forgiven, regardless of whether you think you deserve it. You have to be happy now. And like his expression as he realizes this, it is one of the actually like emotional highlights of that whole section to me.
Yeah. Henry Thomas killed it. I totally agree with you. There's so much great face acting in this whole show and especially this whole episode. But yeah, that moment of like shocked delight and uncertainty at all of this stuff, and just happiness and fear and all of it like wrapped into one of like, yeah, because he didn't do anything like I guess what you could say is he made the choice ultimately to leave. He made the choice to leave his office. And so that was doing something, but that doesn't like he did nothing to earn anyone's forgiveness for anything.
He stood in the path of a faceless, terrifying ghost lady, right? But like, but that's not. I agree with you, and that the principle is it's just grace. He's just forgiven, and that's what's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
we're so lucky. Where would we be, we wretched people, without the generosity of our betters? What a line. I love that line so much.
Yeah.
Because that's so much of life, right? Is that just like, we are so like the generosity of our betters, the grace, the unearned grace of kindness and forgiveness from the people in our life that matter most to us, I think is, that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I think that even ties in with the caretaking and everything, where it's just like, we all take care of each other. We have to take care of each other. We in fact need to take care of each other, and we need to be taken care of at different times. And sometimes this is the most amazing gift imaginable, and sometimes this is an incredible burden. Mm-hmm. But you still have to do it. It's complicated. It's a duty. It's a blessing. It's all of these things.
This is ultimately what I really love about Mike Flanagan's writing sometimes, is that like it's not really didactic in like the way where it says like, this is obviously the correct thing to do in this moment, and like this is if put in this situation, either literally or a metaphorical version of the situation, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. It's a show and it's writing that always just centers on, man, this shit is complicated. These emotions are tough. None of this is easy. None of this is earned easily. Sometimes it's not earned at all. And sometimes bad shit happens to good people. Sometimes you don't get the comeuppance that you were hoping for. It's just like, and it you have to sit in that, and you have to find the beauty and the profundity in that, because you don't have another choice. And I love, like, that's why all of these characters, like he writes such exquisitely complicated and sometimes shitty characters. Like, I go back to Peter Quint, awful person, right? Like like in the end, a monster, like we said a couple weeks ago, but like so complicated, and you're just like, I never want to like fully just hate anyone in these stories, because you feel like you understand them. And it's not like I love what you said a couple weeks ago about like it's not it doesn't undo any of the bad stuff, right? Drawing this complexity in all these characters doesn't like reverse or make up for, like, I think one of our commenters said it best. It's like, someone being shitty to you as a kid doesn't give you an excuse to be shitty to other people, right? Like it could be ultimately the reason, but it's not like it doesn't like doesn't resolve you of any of your actions ultimately.
Right, you're still responsible for that. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm using the same circuits that we have used so many times because I'm thinking about like the sort of Stephen King approach to thinking about character writing and thinking about evil in characters, where like there almost all of his characters, like the mundane evil characters, are still human and understandable, and it's just a type of character writing that is extremely satisfying because you can relate to even the worst characters.
Yeah.
I was even going to go so far as to say that like Flanagan, I feel has almost exclusively that kind of evil character where it almost feels odd to call Peter Quint an evil character. It's like, evil, really evil? It's like, well, kind of. I mean, he doesn't want to kill kids, but it feels weird because he's so humanized, right? But there is supernatural evil as well, and even the supernatural evil is often anchored in something like Viola. I will say, I'm not going to make the claim that Mike Flanagan always humanizes the evil, because I can easily think of several examples of a sort of nightmarish cosmic evil that has no human grounding at all in several of his in the earlier stuff we talked about.
Sure.
And that's totally great. I think that's fun and everything. It's just I'm just sort of, I don't know, finding patterns and thinking out loud.
I do think that is one thing, and maybe this is a conversation better served for next week, but who cares? Like the big difference between Hill House and Bly Manor in my mind is like Bly Manor was just this like ununderstandable kind of base evil. Like it was bad house, bad place.
Hill House?
Sorry, yeah, Hill House. Whereas Bly Manor gets this very specific, acute origin story that is all about this one woman, and everything that happens there kind of rolls out from this one woman. And so like we get to understand like like Bly Manor is not evil. Like Viola was a stubborn, bitter, angry woman who got dealt a shitty hand and stubbornly refused to fold her cards and turned this place into a place of darkness and hate and trapped stasis, right? Like that we have the origin of this place, like it's defined, whereas Hill House is just kind of like, what's up with Hill House?
Yeah.
It's bad. It's like a monster that eats people. And that's a big difference, and I think it's because this is a much more gothic type of story, but it's also, I think, kind of a changing of what we want to focus on and what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
In these stories.
Absolutely. I mean, and then there's stuff like Absentia where it's just like, yeah, there's no, it's just a nightmare. It's just a horrible nightmare. It's just so upsetting, right? Yeah. Anyway.
It's funny because it's like the end of this story is so sad. Like this is such a sad ending to the story. We have this like Jamie is a woman who's doing okay, right? Like by the end of the story, she's dealing with the loss and the grief like we have to do. But like she's still living a life of, I'm going to fill up the bathtub and the sink every night and keep the door cracked in just the hope that maybe I'll get to see you again one more time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely sad. I mean, we should bring up the last shot because it's great. It even connects to the with Danny. So what I love about it, I mean, I guess this is obvious, but like, you know, she's filled up the tub, she's cracked the door, she's looking at the chair, and she's sitting in the chair and she's looking at the door, she's waiting for Danny to show up, and then you see that Danny is behind her with her hand on her shoulder, and it's like, well, Danny's always here.
Yeah.
Like she's not gonna walk through the door, but she's always here with you regardless.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it leaves us on some feeling of a good note of she's here and she's there. She's
and there's also like a sort of intentionality to it, because it's like she is here, but she's not haunting you. She's choosing not to haunt you.
Yeah.
She's choosing not to be a creepy thing that lurks in your peripheral vision. Mm-hmm. She's just here with you, and that's what's beautiful.
I agree. That well said. I completely agree. That is what that ultimate shot conveys. Yeah, because the worst possible thing would be every time you look in the water, it's like,
yeah, your lover who you're never going to be with. Like all that would do is it would honestly just make her want to end her life.
Yeah.
Like which is the last thing Danny would want. So
yeah. And like, I don't know, the one thing she kind of concludes the story on when she's talking to the group is like, and her memories will fade and her face will fade and she'll become like, she'll forget all about the gardener and forget all about, and the only thing that will be left of her is the memories of the gardener. And I like to think that last moment says on some level that she's kind of wrong about that like there's some of the stuff, we talk about the fading of souls and I think there's some stuff that is unmutable in that way, immutable. Sorry, in that way. Yeah. So I like the Danny's hand on her shoulder in the end is like, no, you're. I think you're a little wrong about that, Jamie. Actually.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like to think so. I should say. Yeah, there's a difference between a ghost that is a sort of, unholy revenant clinging to life, like the other ghosts that we've seen, or the ones that are kind of stuck in the gravity well caused by Viola.
Yeah. Where
they want to move on, but they can't. Mm-hmm. And Danny, I think, is she's just staying with her beloved. And I don't know. This is absolutely textually unsupported, but I like to think that she's going to move on. Like she's not cursed to wander the earth for eternity because she happened to, to take Viola's soul onto her. Viola. Sorry, yeah. I keep saying Viola.
So do I. I think I've said it like 6 different ways every time I've said it. And I'm sure we're going to get a comment about it because every time I pronounce something wrong, I'm sorry.
That's the only interesting thing is how we say words, apparently.
Viola. Yeah, no, I think probably, I mean, that is one interesting thing about like what the show does in the 11th hour with this whole possession moment. So we said like she runs out to her, not even really sure what she's doing or why or how it would work, but she says the words, it's you, it's me, it's us.
It's you. It's me. It's us.
The lady in the lake comes into her, and then like we're kind of in uncharted territory from that point on, because every other way the show has established how possession works is the opposite of what's just happening here. Is the possessee or the possessor takes control, but it seems like Viola just like goes in her and then falls asleep and then is gonna wake up again at some point in the future. So we're like the actual like beat to beat like mechanics of this thing is never really clear. And I'm not asking, I don't think it should be clear. Like, cause even in the end of like, okay, how did Danny end up at the bottom of that lake? Did she like say, I'm about to be taken over, so I'm just going to go drown myself? Or was it just like she was taken over and the lady returned to her lake? I'm not asking the show to explain any of this because I think this is like how like gothic horror and romance like operates, but it is just interesting that this is all like left open, and it's just more of a mood and a feel than it is like we need to understand the specific plot mechanics of how this works and this works and this works.
Yeah, it's funny. I just kind of bought it. I just kind of bought the idea that like see, now I don't even know how to say the name anymore. Viola, like there wasn't enough of her left to inhabit a person, I guess is the way I felt about it. It's like, what would that even look like? But all there is like that ember of resentment and hate. And so that's not enough to take over a person, but it is enough to linger in that person's, subconscious back of the mind for so long that it kind of breaks them eventually. I also, just speaking of perhaps we're segueing into the listing things that we liked section of the episode. But I love the moment where, you know, she wakes up and she's got her hand up to Jamie's neck, and that's it. That's all she needs to see, and she just leaves immediately because she's like, I'm not going to play chicken with this. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
I do think that's a moment of like clinging to life at the expense of everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
A choice to stay there would be, I am going to risk the most important thing in my life to cling to life for one more day or one more moment. I mean, that's what it says, is like not for one more day, not risking the most important person in my life. So yeah, I totally agree. I love that moment. I also really like the narration of like, but she wouldn't take her because the lady in the lake was different now. The lady in the lake was also Danny. Danny wouldn't. Danny would never. And so like how the actual mechanics of now they are kind of, Danny is now the lady in the lake, but has the lady in the lake in her still, but has influenced this capsule of hate and rage so much that it has cooled it, and it is different now and peaceful and loving. I don't even understand the mechanics of that. I just love it.
What's funny to me is, depending on how you want to read the text, I mean, that's all Jamie just saying stuff.
Sure.
Like Jamie has no idea what happened to Danny. What we actually see in the show is Danny with her Claddagh ring on her hand, with her hand on Jamie's shoulder, looking kind of just like Danny. Like so this idea that like she merged with the lady in the lake, it's like, fine. That's a fine reading. It's fine to just take Jamie literally there. That's totally fine. That's a reasonable thing to do. But if you think about it, it's like Jamie's making a lot of this up. I mean, how does she know what happened 300 years ago with Viola and her sister? Maybe Danny knows it through having Viola in her head, but maybe she's just making it up.
Yeah.
And which is a funny and kind of cool thought, actually, because it's like, look, we're just telling a ghost story here.
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment where I was like, I wonder if there was any temptation in the story to like, you know, Jamie dives into the lake, sees Danny's corpse at the bottom of the lake, and then crawls out of the lake. I wonder if there was any moment, any version of the script that was like, do we show Ghost Danny like in the background? Because you know, like. There's like that would say something, right? That would do something. That would show that she is now kind of trapped in this place. But we don't do that. We don't show her there at all, and then all we have to go off of is what Jamie says, and then we have the final shot, which says otherwise, essentially.
Yeah.
If you take it literally.
Since I don't think it's an incorrect reading of the text to say that everything that Jamie says is semi-made up, and all we really see, you know, we don't see Danny's face reflected in a pool. We see Danny standing in the room with her, just being, you know, a full torso apparition. So
and it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do want to talk about Owen briefly. So like we get Owen gets his own epilogue too. And that epilogue involves him opening a restaurant in Paris called the Batter Place, because Hannah would hate it and love it at the same time. I just want to say the show, there's an exterior shot of a Batter Place which shows the cross streets that this restaurant is at, and so I looked up the cross streets, Matt. Owen's doing pretty good. This is like in the heart of Paris. Like this is right in the middle of Paris, in a very happening section. I don't know Paris super well. I've been there a couple times, but it's his restaurant. I mean, you can tell by the looks of it on the outside, but like the location is like, this is primo real estate in Paris. So
nice.
Good for you, Owen.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I just commenting on Owen, I having gone back and listened to the beginning of the first episode again, the actor they have doing the Owen character is just doing a pitch perfect impression of the way that Owen talks, right? It's just so good.
That's really funny. I think you're right, but like all I'm thinking about when you said that is when you guessed, or when you said last week that the narrator is clearly doing an interpretation of Jamie's voice throughout the entire narration. Carla Gugino is like all I was thinking about when you said that is like 100% yes. Like I was like, the way she says certain words is like she's channeling Amelia Eve, who plays Jamie. Like it just like it sounds so similar. They're sounding so similar. So yeah, there was definitely some like real work spent nailing this kind of stuff.
There were moments in that particular episode when I don't mean this literally, but maybe I do. When like I felt like they had both actresses doing the lines and they were kind of cross-fading which one you were hearing because it was such a good impression. But no, I think it was all Carla Gugino just really doing the same not just accent, but like intonations and stuff, because it really sounds like her. And that episode in particular, or maybe it was just that I was listening for it more. And also she talks more in that episode.
It's the most amount of talking she does in the whole show is that episode for sure. Yeah. I a few details in the Abatter Place scene that I did want to talk about. Owen says there's something in knowing you made a place that people like to come back to. I think it's a good line, but it's also especially a good line for Owen, who felt trapped in places. Mm-hmm. And so like I've created a place where you're not stuck, but you like can leave and return to and actually want to return to, I think is something for Owen for sure. And then there's like, I really love this detail of he's pouring champagne for them because basically they came to tell them that they're engaged and they're going to get married. Mm-hmm. And he pours champagne, and he pours both of theirs in champagne flutes, and he pours his in just a regular glass. Mm-hmm. And I just love that detail because that's like the chef is not going to drink out of the expensive china in his restaurant. Like he's going to give that to the guests, the people he's celebrating, and he's just going to drink out of a regular glass. I love that detail.
That does seem like a very Owen detail.
Yeah. I also in the scene just got to experience the grossness of our language as compared to the Queen's English, because they all toast to Hannah, right? And you hear Jamie say to Hannah, and then Owen say to Hannah, and then you hear Danny say to Hannah. It's just like, oh man, they're better at our language.
Yeah, right. As a person with that sound in their name, it's always better to hear Matt said by anyone other than an American, because
I also just want to say generally, just as like an overall episode comment, that I think those two women are very pretty, and I liked these vignettes of them with changing clothes and hairstyles, and I liked it all. It was all really good.
It's very pleasant to watch. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. What else you got?
Let's see. I think I hit my pre-written list of concepts that I wanted. I think one here's like the stupidest question that I almost didn't want to say is just like, is it supposed to be like, is this one of those stories where it's supposed to be kind of ambiguous at the end? Like, did Jamie maybe make it all up, and then we see all the characters, and then they swap out with their actor who played them in the other story, and you're like, no, it was true. Like, is that kind of the vibe that we're going for at the end? Because it's not the show plays with us a little bit. I'm telling you this because you have had this show in your head for so long that you just know how you think about it. But it's a reveal that the young woman who's getting married is Flora.
Yes,
and the show even is kind of cagey with it. It's like, is this actually Flora? Like that, like the Flora, you know, and then I think it's really, the show keeps you a little bit in suspense about it until that last moment when it shows Owen gets replaced by they all get replaced by their actors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think back to when I first saw it and what my thoughts was. I mean, like I think I guess in my mind, I never think you're supposed to be like, oh, like I think the Flora moment of like, my middle name is Flora is supposed to be the moment, and these are just them, and it was all real, but just like names and places and things were changed. And I think, I don't know, I think the moment where they transform back to the younger version of themselves is very haunting of, in a way, like we do a very similar thing in the Haunting of Hill House at the very end, where we move characters back. So like, I also think maybe that's like a note you get where of like, do we just really need to hit this drum one more time as loudly as possible to make people understand that yes, that is Owen, yes, that is Henry, yes, that is Miles. We get to Miles, and like Miles is not focused on in any of this. He's just like in the background.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, no, that's Miles too. So
Yeah.
I think it I don't think I guess I feel like maybe you're not supposed to feel it's ambiguous, but they just needed to hit the beat just to make sure you understand in the final moments.
Yes, right. I think, but it ends up not being ambiguous. I think it was more just like you're like, wait a second, wait, oh, and then you realize because you didn't necessarily realize. I mean, you don't even necessarily realize that it's Jamie until the last episode, unless you're really paying attention. So
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess the question is like, did at any point Flora during the course of the story go like, so obviously like Owen and Henry like are like, that's Jamie. I know Jamie. We all remember all these things that happened, and during the course of the story, they're all just like, yep.
I remember that. Yep.
But like for Flora and Miles or whatever their real names are, did they know like Jamie's here at your wedding, right? So they remembered Hannah loosely, the person that we lived with when we were at Bly. You see what I'm trying to say here is like, did they invite the gardener of Bly Manor that like, this is,
I mean, this is kind of what I was getting at, I guess, or maybe I should have said it this way: is like, why are they all at the wedding? And I think the answer is very easy, which is just, her quote unquote dad invited the cast of the Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah,
because he wanted them to be here because he knew that they would appreciate it, even if his daughter doesn't quite remember these people, or maybe maybe she remembers different of them. Maybe she remembers Owen more. Or it's not. It doesn't matter, right? It's just like you're thinking about it the end there.
It is true that they saw them in the years afterwards, right? Like one of the reasons why they have such a non-clear picture of Hannah in their mind is because she died and they didn't see her again, right? Where we know that they did see Jamie and Danny after the events. They know that they did see Owen after the events of it. So like they might have just a clear depiction of like Jamie and Owen as more than just, I think that was like the gardener at my summer house that I lived at when I was a kid. I think there's probably a little bit more there, but ultimately it doesn't matter because it works on an emotional level. And I'm just wondering if like, oh, my gardener is about to tell a story and she's telling a story about these kids that lived in a manor after their parents died. And hold on, wait a minute.
That's part of the thing I was thinking about. I was like, did she just like really completely wipe out her childhood because of all the possessings that happened? Which is that's kind of what I decided to go with in the end, is just like she just really doesn't remember anything that happened at Bly because of all of the magic. It's just I did think that maybe the same wasn't necessarily true of Miles, and I'm choosing to read all of this into the detail that like when we look over at him, he kind of like raises his glass to Jamie. That's it. But it's an acknowledgement of like, I know you, and we're sharing a moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does matter that like everyone else just carries out, and Flora is the one that feels compelled to stick around, both to really sell home the central conceit of like living your life with this fear that you could lose the person that you love, and how that's silly and ridiculous, and you shouldn't do that. But even when that day comes, you'll deal with it as best you can. I love all those lines, but also because she feels some kinship and connection to both this person and the story they just told, in a new kind of way. Whereas Miles, maybe it was, I remember this a little bit clearer than Flora does.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that's my interpretation, because Miles was definitely old enough to be like, hey, remember that time I got expelled from school because I killed a dove so that I could come help my sister with the ghosts? Like that's he's just old enough to have a clear sense of like why he's doing things, right? So whereas Flora, I think, is still portrayed very much as a a child.
One thing I meant to say in the pilot and I forgot, and maybe that was like a Freudian version of forgetting, because I didn't want to draw any attention to the actual characters in the framing story, because I was worried you would like leap to conclusions. But Flora's fiance is Greg Sestero, who you might know as the actor from Tommy Wiseau's The Room, who helped make The Room.
No, did not. The only thing I noticed about him when I rewatched the first bit is that his suit looks a lot like younger Henry Wingrave's suit, which I don't know if they're doing anything with that. I was like, it's kind of interesting.
Could just be wardrobe trying to save money. Could also just be that he gave his future son-in-law an old suit.
Yeah. Or, Flora's marrying a man who reminds her of her father. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I really love apparently the story. Flanagan talks about this in the commentary for the first episode, but the story is that, like, his wife, Kate Siegel, like, first of all, Mike Flanagan is like a massive fan of The Room. He really, really loves it. And his wife, Kate Siegel, bumped into Greg Sestero at a con or something, and it was like, ask him if he wants to be in something. And that's how it's happened, and that's how he makes this cameo in this movie or this show.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. The one thing I realized that we need to talk about before we end the show for sure is Rebecca Jessel, because Rebecca Jessel does get a final moment in this episode. And what Rebecca Jessel does in the final moment of this episode is Flora is about to be drowned. There's nothing Rebecca can do about it except try to maybe help take the pain of the act away from Flora, right? So she says, let me tuck you away into a happy memory so you don't have to experience one of, I think, objectively the scariest forms of death possible, which is drowning. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm just speaking about myself in that, but like the idea of drowning to death, it terrifies me to my core. And so Rebecca Jessel, we talked about her a lot a couple weeks ago. She, in this moment, chooses to do something and take on someone else's pain, take on someone else's suffering. A final act of caretaking, if you will. And it's especially profound considering this is the one thing that Peter... Not the one thing. This is one of many things that Peter did not do for her, right? He possesses her, drags her into this pool, and leaves her in the moments of the actual drowning. And it was a horrible, traumatic experience for Rebecca. Of course it is. She drowned to death. And now she is willingly choosing to go through that same experience and pain again for the sake of someone else. So I think that's as good of an end for that character as you could possibly get. Right. Yeah.
She got her redemption. The only reason I hesitate to use that word is it's like, well, what did she even do that she needed to be redeemed from?
Yeah.
But she got a good closure. She got a good heroic arc. It was good.
I agree. I liked it, and it's for poor Flora, who loved her so much. I also a little thing that happens. I don't know if you noticed it. Did you notice it when Hannah is about to die or about to disappear after she's died? She turns to Henry, who's half dead, and says,
"Please tell Owen
when Owen finds me in the well, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I love him. And the rest, well, it's just." She was gonna say confetti, man. She was gonna say it. I mean, she probably wasn't going to say confetti, because why would she say confetti? But the show wants us to know in that moment that she was going to say confetti.
Totally.
And so this is such a fun choice for me, because like that was such a popular, like, profound and meaningful line from the first season. And you probably feel like there's a lot of connecting tissue between the two shows that we talked about over the course of these 9 episodes. But like, I wonder, like, there's probably a lot of temptation to like, that was such a good line. It worked so well. It played like gangbusters. Can we bring it back?
Mm-hmm.
And there's never an actual moment in the show where like it would have worked to like say the whole line. But instead we just kind of gesture to it in a very fun way where I mean, maybe some people watching the episode like that just went by and they didn't even think about it. But like she was going to say it, Matt. She was going to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree that it was definitely the intended gesture, where I think it's a very classy way of doing a callback where it's not so, because I feel like if she had just said it, then it would be like, okay. I don't know. I think you and I are unusually like not fans of overt like referentiality. Like,
Yeah.
Like for us, it's at best, it's just like, oh yeah,
Neat. Yeah.
neat, yeah. But like this is a fun kind of referentiality to me, where it's like, oh, you're inviting me in to kind of make to kind of make that connection, but it's not actually detracting from the moment, which is Hannah's moment.
Yeah.
And it's an emotional moment. It's not taking you out of the scene completely with this referentiality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that maybe is a perfect place to end.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, the rest is just confetti. So
That's right.
So that is The Haunting of Bly Manor. At least it is episode 9 of The Haunting of Bly Manor. Because as we said, we will be back next week to take one final look at the episode, talk about it in a little more, it broadly in a little more detail, maybe make some more comparisons to Hill House and to the rest of Flanagan's work as well. I'm looking forward to sitting on this for another week and coming back to it, Matt. I think it's gonna be really great.
Yeah. All right, let's get to those discussion questions. So yeah, go ahead.
No, go. You do it.
So yeah, last time the discussion question was favorite moment where characters are tied up and they got to figure out what to do, how to get out of the situation or something.
I want to say, I said when we said this question that I was hoping for this question would allow a little bit of levity to come into our discussion question after the end of a very sad episode. And I think that is, for the most part, true.
Okay.
I, of course, did not think about the fact that sometimes, in some situations, two people tying someone up and then discussing what to do with them could be not funny at all and could actually be very horrifying and sad. Didn't think about that. So, oops.
We asked people to be funny about it. Oh, well. No, we'll see. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
All right. Well, the first one is funny.
Yes,
Busy Day.
I think for the most of them are. Like, I don't think we got anything that was like, you thought this was going to be funny? What the fuck's wrong with you? But it just like, it occurred to me in my head after I said it that, hey, sometimes tying up people is bad.
Yeah. I mean, it almost was in this case. It wasn't particularly funny in this case. All right. Busy Dad 82 says, it's got to be the doctors Henry Jones Sr. and Jr. tied up together in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You get everything in this scene. The explanation of the plan, the love triangle reveal, some great one-liners, and a ticking clock in the form of a flaming room that somehow starts from a Zippo, ironically called a Lucky Charm. The stakes are raised even higher when the safest place in the room, the fireplace, turns out to be a door that leads to an Axis control center. How will the Jones boys get out of this one?
Wonderfully and amazingly, because this is a great movie.
This is such a good movie. I'm playing the whole scene in my head with the music and everything.
I need to rewatch this movie.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a bit.
I want to watch it with my kids because I'm sure they don't remember it from whenever we watched it.
I do that too, yeah. Next we have David L. Hunt, who says, it's been far too many years since I saw it, but when faced with a question about a character tied to a chair whilst people discuss things around him, I have to go with Suicide Kings. In this film, a mobster played by Christopher Walken is kidnapped and held hostage in order to quickly get the $2 million ransom to free an entirely different kidnap victim. There's a variety of plot twists that I can no longer remember well enough to spoil, but I remember Walken's character calmly dominating the situation, even though he's tied to a chair and he's slowly bleeding to death because his finger has been cut off, as a demonstration of how serious everything is. So why would I choose a movie that I haven't seen in literal decades? Because the only reason that I know anything about this film is because one of the kidnappers is played by Henry Thomas. I knew him very casually in the late 80s when he visited our house a few times because he and my sister were both in the Society for Creative Anachronism when he was taking classes at Texas A&M and at Blinton. So I made a point to watch things he was in for a number of years. Wait.
Hold on a minute.
Wait.
The phones.
Hold on. I'm doing some Googling. Some quick Googling.
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, we knew he was born in San Antonio, but education, Blinn College, yes.
Wow.
This is, what? Can we play the Aggie card with Henry Thomas?
Maybe.
Try to get him on the show.
We can be like, were we there at the same time? No, not even close?
Not even a little bit. Wow, that was a great answer, but also an illuminating one.
Yeah.
You can tell neither Matt and I read this one before.
That's true. All right. Apocalypse Win 7 says the part in season 1 of Breaking Bad where they have Crazy 8 restrained with a bicycle lock. There's so much to love. Walt's reluctance to kill him, Crazy 8 trying to save himself by relating to Walt and sowing distrust in Jesse, the big reveal of the missing piece of the dinner plate just as Walt is about to cave and let him go. The stakes are raised so early in the series that you almost can't believe that it could escalate even further. But, well, you've seen the show, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best sequences of the whole show, really, overall. Yeah.
It's maybe stereotypical to say this, but like that is the moment that I realized the show was like, holy shit, special.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, like Vince Gilligan is so into like process and procedure in his shows. Like he loves showing from point A to point B. So like the idea of like shooting the entire scene where we see Walt meticulously stitch this plate together, and to find the missing piece and the reality, like that's when the show hit on something. And gosh, I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
And this is when I tell you, you have not started watching Pluribus yet, which is just the most insane thing in the world to me. I don't want to spoil, because I think I went into Pluribus completely cold, knew nothing about it, and I want you to go in the same way. What I will say to you is not only is this Vince Gilligan doing his Vince Gilligan thing again, it is also him doing a thing that is so incredibly up your alley that I can't believe you haven't seen the show yet.
Well, you know, you mentioned the other day I'm going to be spending some time in hotel rooms, so maybe after my big thing that is occupying my mind, then I'll get to start that.
Okay, good. Darren Longbeard says, in 2006, Daniel Craig picked up the mantle and became the greatest James Bond without question. Ooh, bold.
Wow.
In Casino Royale, after single-handedly stopping terrorism thanks to gambling, the blood-crying asthmatic Le Chiffre is a sore loser and kidnaps Bond's squeeze. Bond pursues and crashes his car. He wakes up tied to a chair and completely naked. They cut the bottom out of the chair, and Le Chiffre starts swinging a rope and slamming it into Bond's old Frankenbeans while trying to get the password for the wire transfer. Le Chiffre doesn't necessarily debate what to do with Bond. He more or less just talks out loud about how bad things are going to get. It's a nightmare scene to watch as a man, but a really entertaining scene. And as we all know, the whole world knows Le Chiffre died scratching Bond's balls.
That's great.
I love Casino Royale, I really do, and I have a very visceral memory of watching that scene. It pains me.
I remember watching it for the first time and just wanting it to end so badly. Yes, I agree.
God.
All right, last one from Scarlet Claret. This might be a little bit of a cheat, but it was the scene that immediately popped to mind after hearing the question. In Street of the Five Moons by Elizabeth Peters, bombshell art historian Vicky Bliss is kidnapped in Rome. She is drugged and tied up and taken to the villain's lair, a previously unknown location. As Sir John, reluctant henchman extraordinary, is fireman carrying her through the halls, she distracts him with banter. This enables her to adjust her blindfold enough to see the bottom of the paintings lining the palazzo's hallway. Of course, she can instantly identify a particular Madonna by her delicate toes. Sir John helps her escape, and she spends a thrilling, not even sarcastic, I really love this part, interlude in Roman archives where she uses her PhD and research skills to figure out where the delicate-toed Madonna currently resides. The blending of sexual tension, high intrigue, danger, and academic rigor makes the scene one of my all-time favorites. That delights me. I've never heard of this, but that delights me.
No, me neither. That sounds awesome.
All right, just to rapidly go through the rest, thanks everyone for your contributions as always. Pear Jane picks a Buffy Season 4's multi-episode run where Spike repeatedly shouts, "Get this bloody chip out of my head," while tied up in Giles's or Xander's apartments.
You did it. I mean, you nailed it except for the British accent part. I also just want to say, for the sake of Jody and all Buffy fans listening, the Claddagh ring that is given between Jamie and Danny has special significant importance in the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I just didn't want the episode to end without acknowledging that, because I mean I know it's a tradition outside of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I just wanted to say it.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. Anyway,
Yep.
Baby King Digger Sam chooses The Ref, where Dennis Leary's botched robber takes a bitter marriage couple hostage and pretends to be their marriage therapist when family shows up. That sounds amazing. Awkward Lungfish selects Better Watch Out, a Christmas home invasion movie where scenes with restrained people are repeated with twists that keep it interesting and wild.
Have you ever seen this movie?
No.
Oh, it's so fun. I like it a lot.
I mean, I'm glad we got all these answers. It's funny because when we selected this one, this is one of those ones where we never really know in advance if we've just done something very stupid when we create a discussion question, because we're like, I feel like this happens all the time. But to be honest, the only example I could think of was Indiana Jones. So I was like, probably other people will think of examples. And then they did. And they were very fun and great. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Those are really great. I believe we are not having a discussion question for 2 episodes from now, because we would read the answers for this one on the first episode of Midnight Mass, and that feels a little weird. So no discussion question, or what's your favorite Bible verse?
Yeah.
You choose to do
might
that.
Might as well answer that question. Sure.
Matt, what's your favorite Bible verse?
I don't know. Something about forgiveness.
It's a safe political answer. Well done.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for this week's episode. Next week, we will take one final look at Bly Manor. I'm looking forward to it. I want to talk maybe more about the acting a little bit, because I love these actors so much, and we're going to see them all again. Almost all of them again.
Yeah. All right. Remember, you can reach us via email at flanagan'swakepod@gmail.com, over on X at flanagan'swake19. You can find us on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/doofmedia. And don't forget that every episode can be found in video format on Spotify and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave us a comment letting you know what you think.
And on Spotify. They can leave comments on Spotify. Leave them everywhere. Yeah.
Leave them everywhere. Pepper them.
Also, please check out our merch store, doofmedia.myshopify.com. Obviously, by the time this episode comes out, you will not be able to get anything in time for Christmas. But how about New Year's? Wait, I don't know if that... How about Valentine's Day? Yeah. Valentine's Day. What better way to tell someone you love them than...
the mangled hand.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I was reaching for something that would be funny, and I couldn't find it, but you're there, buddy. I appreciate that. Check out doofmedia.myshopify.com. We've got a lot of stuff on there. We're adding new stuff all the time. It's all fun. It's just supposed to be fun ways of expressing how much you love Mike Flanagan or Stephen King or our silly podcast. So check that out, doofmedia.myshopify.com.
And if you'd like any of our shows and you want to support us, then please consider donating to our Patreon account at patreon.com/doofmedia. Got a bunch of great bonus content over there, huge backlog of bonus episodes, and ongoing bonus content of various types. Also, you can vote on which shows you'd like us to cover on the Doofcast.
We will get back to talking about we will get back to it. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
I did this stupid, silly thing where I was like, I have time for another podcast every week, and I'm going to talk about Welcome to Derry with our friend Kim C over on the Kingslingers feed, which has been an enormous amount of fun. I am loving it so much, but it also just added another thing to my list that I have to do every week, and it is making keeping up with another podcast and another show we're in the middle of doing difficult. So we will be back to that soon, and we'll probably try to bang some out to make up for our extended absence of that show.
Yeah, the holiday season is also rough, but yeah, we will get back to it.
That too. Yeah. Of course, if you cannot afford to support us on Patreon or elsewhere, that is absolutely okay. You can always help us by sharing the podcast. As we said, we're getting into Midnight Mass in the start of the new year. It's going to be a fun year. We've got Midnight Mass, Midnight Club, and Usher coming up in the next few months. So make sure people don't miss it. Share the podcast. And also, please leave us rating and reviews on Apple Podcasts or whatever place has reviews. We did get a review last week, Matt, but it was a mean one, and so I choose to not read it, and that is my choice as a co-host of the show.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to read it.
Well, what you're doing is you're expressing grace and forgiveness, because if you did read it, then we would just make fun of this person.
Oh,
which would be mean, and we're just going to choose to let it go. We're going to be the bigger man.
But not a bigger man enough to not mention it on the show, so then everyone listening immediately goes and checks what the review is.
Exactly that size of man, yes.
We're all imperfect people.
We are. What would we do without the grace of our betters?
And a little luck. All right, folks, we'll see you back here next week. Until then, rest in peace, Mr. Flanagan. I'll have my Clawda-ringed hand on your shoulder as you sleep at night.
Yes.
That's a creepy image, actually.